Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday, and you already know what time it is. In a few moments, you'll get to hear my thoughts and feelings on episode 8 of Married at First Sight Boston. And before I get into the review, I gotta get this off my chest. Over the past few weeks, I've been on social media and I've seen several fans of the show supporting certain cast members just based on feelings and emotions. Well, over here, my goal is to give a fair and honest perspective of each couple's as well as their strengths and weaknesses. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. This episode marks day 11 of the marriage for the couples. Well, all the couples except Chris and Alyssa. Now I know many of the fans out there thought that because Chris and Alyssa had broken up last episode, they would not be filming any more for the season. Boy, were some of you all wrong. Chris and Alyssa are financially obligated to continue filming till the end of the season, so expect to see more of them throughout the remainder of the season. But when we first see Chris, he is explaining to us as the viewing audience why he asked for a divorce. Later on in the episode, Chris is video chatting with his mother about his decision to divorce Alyssa. Chris's mother seems very understanding during their conversation, and she's supportive of his decision. We then see Alyssa meeting up with her friend, and this is where the foolishness starts up. Alyssa's friend asks a number of questions in an attempt to gain an understanding of why things didn't work out. One question that the friend asked was if Alyssa had ever had a deep discussion with Chris about anything. Alyssa lied by claiming that Chris knew where she was at the resort, and if he truly wanted to talk to her he could, but he didn't. Alyssa also claims that she was the only one who tried to move forward with a clean slate and give the marriage a chance, but Chris said no, and he asked for a divorce without putting forth any effort. The way that Alyssa is so comfortable telling a bold-faced lie is extremely disturbing, and in the past few weeks, I've caught quite a bit of heat for questioning Jasmina's integrity because she's friends with someone like Alyssa. But the way that Alyssa tries to manipulate those who aren't familiar with the details of her marriage with Chris was definitely alarming, and it makes me question whether or not her elevator goes all the way to the top. But let's move on to Steve and Noi. Their first scene in this episode shows them having breakfast and discussing the topics of finances. And my only question is, how many times are we going to hear these two people talk about money? Now granted, Steve could be rich, he could have a nice savings account, or he could have a never-ending trust fund. But at this point I'm kind of tired of hearing about the topic of Steve's finances. But later on in the episode, Steve and Noi host a housewarming and their friends come by to visit. Noi's friends pull Steve to the side, and they essentially tell him that Noi is looking for a husband that can be a breadwinner. And I think the news may have set off Steve's spider senses because he may not want to be viewed by his wife as a human wallet. Steve's friends also pull Noi to the side, and Noi shares her concerns for Steve's unemployment status. And Steve's friend shares that his job is always hiring for positions that Steve will qualify for. I know that Steve's friend was trying to be helpful in that matter, but the revelation only made Noi's processing go into overdrive. So sometime after the housewarming ended, Steve and Noi have their first official fight. From what I gathered, Noi told Steve that she would cook for him, but Steve may have been micromanaging her too much during the cooking process. One thing led to another, and there was a blow up between Steve and Noi. So Noi took the dog and left Steve alone in the apartment for the entire night. The next day, Noi returned to the apartment, and Steve felt some type of way about Noi completely shutting down and telling everyone on social media that she wasn't happy in her marriage. Now the whole time Steve is telling Noi how her actions made him feel, Noi doesn't seem to be moved by anything that he's saying. In my opinion, Noi still feels some type of way about Steve not having a full-time job, and she's asking herself why she should take criticism from someone who's not even employed. Steve and Noi have issues that seem to revolve around their unwavering mindset. They both have it set in their minds what they want and what they're looking for, and they don't seem to want to compromise for the other person. Sounds familiar, right? Let's move on to Olajuwon and Katina. In the beginning of the episode, Olajuwon meets up with a friend and he talks about his marriage to Katina. During this discussion, Olajuwon claims that the biggest fear that he has is that once he consummates the marriage, he may change as a person. But when the friend asks Olajuwon about any red flags that he may have seen with Katina, this is where we finally get past the crust of things. Olajuwon brings up a time in which Katina claimed she was going grocery shopping, and when she returned a few hours later, she only had 2 items to show for it. I think Olajuwon feels some type of way that Katina isn't everything that he asked for, and he doesn't want to give her that pickle tickle just yet because his heart wouldn't be in it. The friend then encourages Elijah to not overthink things. Katina then has one of her friends over at the new apartment, and they talk about Katina's experience thus far. They talk about the lap dance that Elijah gave her at the wedding, and the friend also talks about how talkative Elijah is. One red flag that was present in this conversation was how the friend felt some type of way that Katina was the first black woman Elijah has been with. Katina attempted to defend Elijah, but the friend simply didn't like Elijah, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was rooting for their marriage to fail. But later on in the episode, Katina and Elijah have their housewarming, and one important takeaway that I had from it was how Katina's friend seemed disappointed that she did not consummate her marriage with Elijah. To me, it seems that sex is very important to Katina, and she may not give herself fully to Elijah unless he can touch her kidneys or something to that effect. Next, let's talk a little bit about Mark and Lindsey. Mark meets with his friends and talks about his marriage to Lindsey. Mark talks about what he likes about Lindsey, and he discusses what he doesn't like, which is mainly the things that she says in public settings. We don't get a chance to see Lindsey meeting with her friends to talk about her marriage. If it happened, then it must have been when I was distracted or something. But later on in the episode, Mark and Lindsey host a housewarming, and the theme is build your own pizza. Lindsey has a trivia game that gets everyone engaged, and the remainder of their housewarming scene is pretty positive for the most part. So let's finally talk about Michael and Jasmina. In the beginning of the episode, Michael meets up with his sister Claire. Michael talks about his experience in the wedding and the honeymoon, but instead of showing Michael's version of events which led to his conflict with Jasmina, the episode shows flashbacks to all the times Michael and Jasmina argued during their honeymoon, which I didn't think was needed. Michael's sister then lets him know that he and Jasmina still don't know each other, and she believes that Jasmina is protecting herself the only way she knows how. Later on, Jasmina meets up with her friend, and this was the most interesting part of the entire episode. Jasmina uses this opportunity to vent to her friend about her issues with Michael. Jasmina initially tells her friend that she didn't like the tone that Michael used with her, and the friend replied that Jasmina doesn't like the tone anybody uses with her. Jasmina shares that Michael always thinks that he's right and he can't admit when he's wrong, and the friend told Jasmina that she's the exact same way. What I liked about Jasmina's friend was that she told Jasmina what she honestly felt, and she really has no dog in the fight or a reason to defend Michael from any criticism. But she tried to give Michael the benefit of the doubt instead of blaming him for every problem that him and Jasmina are having. What I found most interesting was how Jasmina's friend told her straight up that she should expect conflict with her husband, and the best way to work through the conflict is to communicate with each other. Jasmina seemed to be more receptive to her friend saying that than Michael, who said the exact same thing a few episodes back. But later on in the episode, Michael and Jasmina are having their housewarming, and it seems like the two of them are having a good time together. When Jasmina meets with Michael's sister, she lets Michael's sister know that Michael is sweet, he's amazing, he's kind, and a gentleman, which is a far cry from how Michael was characterized for the past two episodes. So one has to ask if Jasmina is lying to Michael's sister, or if Jasmina was over-exaggerating Michael's role in the issues that they were having. I still see Michael overthinking his approach with Jasmina, as he was shown asking Jasmina's friends how he should handle conflict with her. And I think Michael's inclination to jump the gun may continue a path of pointless arguments between him and Jasmina. So towards the end of the episode, Chris and Alyssa meet up with the rest of the couples to announce their divorce. The group meets up at a bowling alley, but I've never seen bowling balls or pins like that. As the group takes a break from bowling, Katina makes the comment that she likes it when Elijah leaves the toilet seat down. And the comment was more than enough to spark Lindsey up. Lindsey makes a comment about poop spray, and it's extremely awkward amongst the couples. Alyssa and Chris finally join the group, and the group takes turns explaining what they learned from their visit with Pastor Cal. Elijah and Katina share what they learned, and a few moments later, Lindsey makes a comment about intimacy and conflict. Katina then rolls her eyes, and Lindsey's ready to go into loony mode with Katina, but Katina shuts it down. Chris then lets the group know that he and Alyssa are getting a divorce, and during this time Alyssa tries to muster up a tear while giving her "I tried my best" speech, but it's not really working. Towards the end of the episode, Lindsey and Mark have a blow up about Lindsey's response to Katina rolling her eyes, and Mark lets Lindsey know where he stands on things. Things get heated. Mark walks away, and Lindsey encourages Mark to call his mother to let him stay with her, and Mark replies to Lindsey that she needs to have another drink. Now, over the remainder of the episode, Lindsey is showing her ugly side. It seems like she's taking shots at Mark, as well as his income and how he makes it selling gym memberships, and Mark can hear her talking about him during this time. Now, with this situation, I can kind of see both sides of the coin. Lindsey wants to feel like her husband has her back because she has shown that she's been supportive of Mark. But on the flip side, Mark wants Lindsey to have some sort of filter win in public, and he wants her to avoid meaningless conflicts with people that they barely know. But Lindsey always wants to choose violence. So we all know that these folks don't stand a chance making it past decision day, but we shall see. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this episode a 6. Some parts of the episode were filler, but it was nice to see some growth among some of the cast members. And I can only speak for myself when I say I'm already over this season, but I'll continue to push out these reviews. And with that being said, this marks the end of the review. If you have any questions or comments, then feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to each and every comment. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.